Hello, everybody. Welcome to the first episode of my podcast, RockWind, where we take a look at rock songs and discuss how they were made, including the state of the world when the song was written, the mindset of the songwriter, and a lot of other factors. This is a podcast that hopes to get you interested in some maybe forgotten tracks and maybe discover a song that you really enjoy. I'm your host, Braden, and I hope you enjoyed the discussion. Our topic for today is going to be an old Rolling Stones song called Give Me Shelter. This song was recorded in the late 60s, specifically 1969, and is our topic today for a couple of reasons. To start, you have to think about the state of the world at this time. America was at war with Vietnam, and protests fighting against the war were rampant. Gimme Shelter, funnily enough, is a song that feels completely on edge. Keith Richards' opening guitar riff almost sounds like a siren going off, and the song all throughout is very low intensity and doesn't quite feel like any other rock song made around this time, which usually would be a bunch of high energy tunes announcing themselves with a whole bunch of pure energy. It feels melancholic in a way because the state of America at the time was melancholic. To talk about the instrumental further, we need to think about why this song feels so gloomy or so dystopian in a way. It's simple. The band simply didn't do anything like super fancy whenever they were recording the song. They kept everything low energy, like we said, and by the book. That's to say, there were no outstanding orchestras of instruments in the background, or someone doing a really sick guitar solo or drum solo. They kept it nice and they kept it nice and chill. This is a deliberate choice made by the band, since keeping the instruments muted and boxed in was able to really allow the lyrics to hit home. Speaking of lyrics, this song's lyrics are beyond powerful, especially considering how the world was at this time. Again, America was at war with Vietnam, and the American people were not happy about it. So, in a way, this song was able to voice the opinions of protesters at the time. Additionally, because the instrumental is so stale, the lyrics are very emphasized, like I said earlier. For example, "War children is just a shot away" is a very hard hitting line for a few reasons. One is that, conceptually, war and children, we don't usually associate those in a sentence together. So making people see them together kind of short circuits your brain in a way because it really gets you thinking about like the current state of the world. That's something that you have to think about. Additionally, some student protests, protesting the war, they were known for being shot at, which would allow people to not only think about war and children in the same sentence, but thinking about the other part of the lyric is just a shot away. They're able to actually think of a real world scenario where this can happen, and having such an easy example of that happening is able to really mess with people. Now, I'm not going to be going too deep into this lyric for us in favor of a specific one later, but this is already a really hard-hitting line when you think about America at the time. And having such a muted instrumental is really able to emphasize what the lyrics are saying. It's kind of like getting clotheslined with a bat, but in sentence form. Now, it's hard to talk about lyrics in this song in the same sentence without mentioning the infamous voice crack by the singer Mary Clayton when she sang the line "Rape Murder is just a shot away." There's a few things that make this lyric special. To start, both this lyric and the lyric that we already discussed end with "is just a shot away." In both cases, the word just kind of tells the listener how close the country is to collapse by saying that all these terrible things, they aren't like, far-fetched. They're really close to happening. And if something doesn't change, something really bad can happen for America. Now, thinking about the lyric "rape murder" is just a shot away. Another thing that makes it very hard hitting is the voice crack. Whenever Mary Clayton was singing it, she was up late at night. She was pregnant. She even had her hair in curlers. But despite that, she was able to inject so much of her emotion into the lines that she was singing that, her voice cracked. It was so inspirational that if you listen close to whenever it happens, you can actually hear Mick Jagger in the background scream because it was such an emotional moment for the band. Now, wrapping up the discussion, we can talk about the public perception of it a bit. Now, the song kind of ended up being tied to the end of the hippie dream, namely after the Altamont concert, where the stage was rushed and a fan ended up dying. While the song wasn't the cause of the murder, it was still really effective in relaying the message to the general public, again, with the just a shot away line. Additionally, people at the time tended to shrug off rock songs that tried to talk about the problems that America was facing at the time, since they usually were made in a way that communicated a kind of hope that people just didn't feel when they were thinking about Vietnam or like the MLK assassination. Gimme Shelter had no kind of hope in its lyrics, and instead, it hoped to capture the kind of feeling that people got whenever they would read distressing headlines. It's like MLK assassinated. Overall, Gimme Shelter is a very culturally powerful song. It was able to capture people's feelings during 1969 and convey some really powerful messages through a mixture of a stagnant instrumental and lyrics with a much deeper meaning than one may initially think. Additionally, the lack of hopeful lyrics was able to allow the public to latch onto the song and allow them to latch on further whenever the Rolling Stones fan was killed. But that's about all we have time for. This was your host, Braden, and that ends the first episode of RockWind. Rock on, everybody.